Yeah, it helps a lot. Obviously, every team has their designated players, so to speak, and obviously, every team has a lot of good players that aren't designated players, but your designated players are your designated players for a reason. And Tomas is a DP for a reason. He's got goals in him, and he's hungry to score. On a personal level, I'm just really proud of him for getting back and going through the long road and journey to recover from an ACL. So it'll be a nice moment when he finally gets his chance to go back in the game to help us hopefully win the game and push us over the top. And I think that's the key. We've been in every game. We've been playing much better. We've been creating a lot more chances. So if you put a few guys in there that have just even a little bit more quality in those moments where we get in around goal, we feel like that can be what pushes us over the top.
So all of Atlanta's matches have been, these really close margin games with a difference of one goal, win or lose. So what is it that you do to ensure that you go out and you're that extra bit that ensures that you're on top?
Yeah, I think as MLS, the margins are tight in every game in MLS. It's a league of parity. Every team has good players and good coaches, and every team is very competitive, and it's hard to predict who's going to win in any given weekend in our league. With Atlanta, they're one of the most talented teams in the league. When I look at them, Garth Lagerwey's done an unbelievable job of building that roster. I don't think they have a weakness in any position when you look at their team, and they hired a great coach who I really respect. And Ronnie Delia, and obviously he's won an MLS Cup, and so they're the total package. They haven't, maybe, been flying like they probably want, but they're going to, with where they're at right now in the season, with this being a home game, they're gonna want to, for sure, be extremely aggressive to get 3 points against us. So it's going to be one of our most difficult games of the year.
Now, Caleb, this is your second time facing Atlanta United this season. Obviously, you played them in preseason. What takeaways can you use from that first matchup, and how would you say your group has evolved in the past 2 months to then face them again for the second time?
Yeah, preseason you don't take a ton from. Obviously, I think at that time, we're 2.5 weeks in, 3 weeks maybe in to what we were building. We're doing different things now. We're playing different players as well now. They didn't have their full roster together either, and they're doing different things as well. So not a ton to take from that preseason game. We'll take more from watching their recent games that they've played. What we're trying to do is continue with the good play in the last 2 games in particular. The chances we've created, the amount of moments we've gotten in around the goal, our good defending. So we're trying to keep that, but then we're also trying to find a few little wrinkles that will push us over the top. And so, we'll make decisions again, and the way we'll play in this game, like always, will be with the goal of winning the game. And for me, I'm happy with the last couple games in terms of the evolution. Not happy with the result last game, but I do still think there's more in our group. Obviously, with 2 really good players in the attack coming back, that'll help. But I feel like there are a couple little adjustments we can make that will push us over the top.
And then one more for me. Obviously, you just spoke on the 2 players coming back. How important is it for players like Luca Langoni and Ignatius Ganago to kind of find their stride and build confidence from this game?
Yeah, they need to, you know how it goes. If they find that first goal, the floodgates open, the confidence grows, and both those players, especially with Leo out and especially with Chancalay out, Carlos is going to find goals. He's going to play well, but you need your supporting players, even a Maxi Urruti. You need those guys to step up and score. And all those players are getting in good positions to do that. They just have to finish.
Frank Delapo, we'll go to you next. Frank, you're unmuted now.
Hey, Caleb. When you came in last year, one of the first players you brought in was Ali Ivacic. Just talk about what you saw in him before he got here and how he's performed.
I think Ali's had a great year. Doesn't mean he's been perfect, but I think he's performing really well right now. He's made saves in every game. I don't think the defending's been an issue this year. We've been very organized every single game. It's why we've been in every single game against good teams. We've been organized defensively. We've pressed well. We haven't given away a ton of chances. But when called upon, Ali's really done well to make saves. And, obviously if you're nitpicking, there are going to be goals you look at and say, could have done a little better here or there. But for the most part, I feel like, he's been doing his job. And he's a great leader as well and a good guy in the locker room.
Go to Sam Minton next. Sam, you're unmuted now.
Hello, Caleb. Hope you're doing well. Just kind of wanted to ask, you touched upon it after last game, but just as the coach, just how do you balance, the quality of play and, maybe improvements you're seeing on the pitch with, this kind of being a results-driven business. I guess as a coach, how do you view that, and then how do you kind of instill that in your players?
Yeah, I mean, I know that you have to win. So you don't need to instill that in a professional player or professional coach. That's in our DNA. That's in our blood. We want to win everything we do. Otherwise, we're not where we're at. So if anything, it's just making sure that when they don't win, they don't get frustrated to the point where they lose energy and stop doing, the good things that they've done in the last two games. It's been much better the last two games in terms of the balance, in terms of the chance creation. You can't say in those two games that we're not creating enough chances, and we're not working hard and we're not organized. If you're saying that, you're not watching the same game I am. In saying that, we didn't win the last game. So, ultimately the bottom line is we didn't get a result. But the last two games, we're on the right track. But I still think that we can step up in moments, finish plays better. I said it early in the week, have more killer instinct in the boxes. And I still think we can find perhaps a few more wrinkles, a few adjustments that'll help us, make that breakthrough and push us over the top.
One more question from Seth. Seth, you're unmuted now.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. Just curious with Leo and Chocolate needing a little bit more time. Thoughts on Maxi Ruby, and we saw Ganago play up top. You've been working with him. Thoughts of him as an up top option.
Yeah. Again, we're trying to do what we think is best to win every game. When you look at the last two games, we played really well in both first halves. Maxi was in those games. Obviously, our adjustment you've seen in the last two games is to push eventually Ganago up top and bring on a winger. Obviously, against Red Bull, that unlocked the game. In the last game, we played much better actually in the first half than we did in the second half. We should have, with a little more luck, we should have been up in that half. I didn't think at the end of the game we created enough. So those are things you look at. But Ganago's part winger, part forward. He's played as a 9. He's played a winger. He's played a 2 front. Those are all things we're aware of. Again, we know we have 2 strikers coming back. So our decisions, short term and long term, will be with those things in mind.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think we are better in attack. We are creating some chances. First 2 or 3 games we didn't create much, but now last 2 games, when you look at them, I think we have some great opportunities to score. Yeah, we didn't score, which is the ultimate goal, but we are getting there.
And Ollie, obviously you've made some big saves in every single game so far this season. And, you know, sometimes when when your teammates see you, you know, putting your body on the line or, you know, giving it your all like that, it can tend to, you know, kind of fire up the rest of the team. So how important do you think your performances are, and how do you try to inspire your teammates out on the field by making plays like that?
Thank you first. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very important. I think the goalkeeper in this league is very important. You know, he can be a difference maker, and that's what I'm trying to be. You know, to help the team as much as I can, or to keep us in games. You know, where the result is even. Sometimes it goes my way, sometimes it doesn't. But you know, I believe in myself, and I'm just trying to do my job. But appreciate it again.
Caleb?
So obviously, Ali, this is now the second time you guys have played Atlanta. You guys played them in preseason. When you played them in preseason, both goals came from Alexei Maranchuk crosses. What work has been done to kind of prevent his distribution, and how comfortable are you in keeping the ball out of the net against a high force like Atlanta?
Yeah, you're right. They are very dangerous. They have some good guys that can cross well, so we have to prepare for that. We have, obviously, as you know, set piece coach here, so we've been working on that a lot. You know, we have to try to minimize fouls around the box where they're the most dangerous. That's the first thing, and then we have to defend well. You know, starting with me, trying to help them and come off my line. You know, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
We have one question on Zoom from Sam. Sam, you're unmuted now.
Ali, hope you're doing well. Just kind of want to ask, you know, coaches kind of mentioned how, you know, the back line and yourself have performed well. You know, obviously the attack's been struggling. You know, is there any kind of, you know, frustration there with the results and the lack of scoring, and just overall, you know, can you take solace in the fact that you're kind of doing your job and the back line's performing well?
Yeah, it's difficult moment right now. You know, as we all know, 6 games in when we didn't score many goals, and you know that's what it's all about. If you want to win games and be the best, you need to score goals. So we need to do better. It's not a secret. We all know that. We need to score more goals because defensively, I think we've been pretty good. Now it's just about scoring, and hopefully we'll do that in next game.
One more from Frank. Frank, you're unmuted now.
Hey, good. Hi, Ali. So you were out of the league for a little while last year. Did you feel like you had something to prove when you got back, and did that provide some motivation for you?
I think we have always something to prove. First to ourselves, you know. But I think I've been talking about that maybe too much. You know, I don't want to dwell on it too much, on my past. I'm just focusing in the moment and looking forward and try to be the best as I can.
I just wanted to finish with one more, Ollie, with Tomas Chancalay coming back in. Are you happy to see him back on the field, or have you been unhappy to see his shot coming at you on the training ground?
Unhappy. No, he'll be a great addition for sure. You know, his shots are something that I've never seen in my career. It's very difficult for goalkeepers, and if he can do that in the game, maybe we'll score more goals.